Tonight, we honor and celebrate the radical Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and we take on the timely and urgent issue of how to live and what to do when the times and their challenges make us deeply afraid. King's capacity to make a bold and daring move on April 4, 1967, when he broke with the Johnson administration and with many of his allies by directly condemning this country's catastrophic war in Southeast Asia, hinged in no small part on King's capacity to work through his own personal fears. King had every reason to be afraid. He and his family had long been harassed and intimidated by J. Edgar Hoover's FBI. His homes had been bombed. In forcefully condemning what many Americans in 1967 still considered to be a righteous war, this great prophet knew he was marked for death. But like all great prophets, King refused to stand down. Instead, he stood up for truth and for basic morality. He stood up for a country, for a future America that he wanted to see healed of violence and racism. He stood up for the Vietnamese people and for international solidarity. How did he find the courage? Throughout his short life, King wrestled with fear. He talked about it in his sermons and writings. He wrote, "First, we must face our fears without flinching. We must honestly ask ourselves why we are afraid. The confrontation will, to some measure, grant us power. We can never cure fear by the method of escapism, nor can it be cured by repression. The more we attempt to ignore and repress our fears, the more we multiply our inner conflicts and cause the mind to deteriorate into a slum district." Note here King's perception that facing down fear can grant us power. In Notes for a Sermon in 1957, King had described fear as in part a failure or misuse of the imagination. In a later version of that same sermon, King called fear a powerfully creative force. More than anything else, King recognized the dynamic interplay between love and fear. And as a serious Bible scholar, he knew that God's most important message throughout the Old and New Testaments is, "Be not afraid." In the depths of his heart, King completely accepted the New Testament's word that perfect love casts out all fear. He staked his life on it. King was not fearless. We should be clear about that. He simply knew that love is the force more powerful, that soul force is greater than their force, greater than their hatred, their guns, their clubs, their vicious dogs, and their relentless campaigns of character assassination. And so tonight, we will explore how we in our time can stand strong when gangsters and fearmongers in high places seek to shut us down. Whom can we turn to for strength and inspiration? What resources do we have to keep on keeping on in the face of oppression and evil? How shall we, in King's words, build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear? Stay with us and stay strong.